Hi, I'm Mark, and I collect things. Sometimes I even play things, and I'm always here spending too much time looking at comic books instead of actually reading comic books. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Hro DC Events set. We're going to take a look at the original comic book that the artwork from each card originally came from. Most of these cards feature artwork from recent or fairly modern limited series, so the comics are not very expensive for the most part. I went ahead and grabbed a copy of each comic so I could show off the artwork and make a call out to the artist who did the artwork for each one. So first up, we'll go through the commons. The first one is Dark Knight's Death Metal #1. This is the cover B variant cover with artwork by David Finch. This is a limited series by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. It's the follow-up to Dark Knight's Metal. Give you a close-up of the artwork. And it took me a while to find the signature on here, but it is kind of hidden down here on the rim of the tire. You can see Finch right there. And it is the variant cover, the cover B. It's just a regular variant. It's not a ratio cover or anything. Next up is Infinite Crisis #6. This is a Jim Lee cover featuring Superboy Prime. Zoom in on the artwork on this one. This is the penultimate issue to a mid-2000s series, which is kind of a sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths. And this limited series restores the multiverse, whereas Crisis on Infinite Earth kind of collapsed the multiverse into one main universe. Infinite Crisis brings it back. Here's Jim Lee's signature on this one. And by the way, the DC continuity and all the relaunches and timelines and limited series are pretty crazy. I don't know them very well, so I might make some mistakes while I'm calling these out. There are lots of other YouTube channels that have a lot of good information about them if you're curious. Or I encourage you to go ahead and pick up some of these books or collected editions and go ahead and read them. All right, next up is Dark Knight's Metal #3. This is a limited series by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. Dark Knight's Death Metal is the follow-up to Dark Knight's Metal. And this is the cover C variant, I believe. And once again by Jim Lee. Features a lot of those dark multiverse, kind of evil Batman characters. And here's Jim Lee's signature down here in the bottom right. This is the mini-series where I think the Dark Multiverse was first discovered or became known. And all the Dark Knight's Metal and Death Metal are official canon. They're not like Elseworlds or side stories or anything. It is part of the official canon. All right, the fourth common is Flashpoint #1. This is one of my favorite covers. Now, I cheated a little bit on this one and grabbed the Dollar Comics reprint of it. It's the exact same artwork. This issue is a little pricey right now. I do want to get a copy of it, but I'd like to get a high grade or maybe even a CGC 9.8. It's a beautiful comic, beautiful artwork by Andy Kubert, and it's an interesting storyline. It's the first appearance of the Thomas Wayne Batman, and it's kind of what kicked off the New 52 relaunch. I'll zoom in here on the artwork. I love this artwork. The series is written by Jeff Johns, and Andy Kubert does the interiors, and Andy Kubert did this beautiful cover. This is the artwork that was featured on the Events Pack package, actually. And I want to go ahead and take a moment to open up the comic and show you guys one of the first pages of the interior. It's here in the interior. All right, so right on page 2 is this beautiful Silver Age style Flash, Barry Allen. And this is, of course, one of the Hro Chapter 1 common cards of Flash. And it's also the artwork that I have featured on this t-shirt. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the video. I'll stand up just a little bit. It's the same exact artwork. It is a great full-page splash. His foot at the bottom is breaking through the panel. I really like that. And I have the cards handy. Go ahead and grab one and show you. It also reminds me of an old Impel card. So here is the events card down here. Here's the comic that it was from. Here's that interior page that I showed. This is a chapter 1 common, and I can't help but to think of this old Impel DC Cosmic card, Series 1. It's almost the exact same pose. It's the same character, the Silver Age Barry Allen Flash. I can't help but to think if this Andy Kubert artwork could even be homage to this DC Cosmic Cards card. If you guys are not familiar with this old 1991 set, I encourage you to go ahead and check it out. It's a pretty big set. The cards are crammed with details on the back. It has original artwork, the entire set. I think it's like 180 cards. Yeah, 180 plus 10 holograms featuring all original artwork. They're very cheap right now. If you've never seen them and are interested, check out eBay. You can get a sealed box pretty cheap, or just a base set, I think, for, I don't know, $30. It's a lot of fun to look through and see all the original artwork. I'd love to see some original artwork in the Hro set. I think this is one of my complaints I would say about the Hro cards, are that so far it's mostly recycled artwork from other sources. I do think there are some upcoming reward cards for the new digital set that's launching that might be original artwork, so that sounds pretty cool. All right, up next is Blackest Night number 3. Another limited series. These are all, of course, limited series. These are kind of event crossovers. This is by Geoff Johns with artwork by Ivan Reis. It features a lot of the Green Lantern Corps, and I think Necron is one of the primary antagonists, if not the primary antagonist. And the cover is also by Ivan Reis. Let's see if I can, here's his signature right here. He also does the interiors on this limited series. After that, we can move on to the uncommons. First up is Infinite Crisis number 1. There was already number 6 from the commons. This is issue number 1, again with a Jim Lee cover. I love this cover with Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman, and some of the villains and antagonists in the back. Zoom in again on the artwork so you can get a good look at it. And Jim Lee's signature down here in the bottom right again. Okay, and then Blackest Night number 6 is the next uncommon. We did already mention this series because number 3 is one of the commons. Here's issue number 6 of 8. I'll zoom in. And I do believe this is Ivan Reis artwork. Next up for the uncommons, we've got Forever Evil number 1 with a David Finch cover. It's written by Geoff Johns again. He's written a lot of these limited series, and interior artwork by David Finch. It's a 2013 limited series and crossover. It follows Trinity War, which is the superior and epics that we'll show off here in a minute after the uncommons. So this storyline comes after the Trinity War. Cool cover with a ton of villains packed on. And here is David Finch's signature. All right, the next uncommon is Final Crisis number 4. This is one of the Crisis events. This is after Infinite Crisis. It's a 2008 limited series written by Grant Morrison. The cover is by J.G. Jones. And you might think that this comic was damaged, but this is how it's printed, with kind of like some wear and tear or deterioration. I think as the issues count up to 7, the letters and the cover are kind of more and more worn. The letters, I think, end up falling apart on issues 6 and 7. So this is just all the normal printing, even over the signature, the J.G. Jones signature down here on the bottom right. There's this kind of like gray splatter or wear mark on top of it. And that storyline is centered around Darkseid. All right, so that was the first page of my binder. And that's all of the uncommons. Moving on now to the superior, epic, and legendary. These are all multi-card images. So the 3 superiors are Trinity War parts 1 through 3. And Trinity War was a crossover. There's 6 main parts. There's some other tie-ins. And it's centered around Pandora and Pandora's box and the Trinity of Sin. Pandora actually appeared as a cameo in every single issue number 1 of the New 52. I thought that was pretty cool. I learned that while I was preparing for this video. I never knew that before. So this is the top left card, Justice League number 22, with art by Ivan Reis. And he did all 3 of these covers that I'll be showing. And they are, of course, connecting. So that's part 1. Here is part 2, which goes right next to it. Justice League of America issue number 6. And this one has Pandora here in the middle, the red cloaked hood. This one is written by Jeff Lemire. And then part 3 of the wraparound cover by Ivan Reis. It connects here to part 2, just like the cards do. You can see in the top right, it is part 3 of 6. Zoom in on the art just a little bit. And Ivan Reis's signature is down here in the bottom left of this third part of it. And then the epic cards are parts 4, 5, and 6 of Trinity War. And they are done by a different artist, Doug Mahnke. So here's the leftmost cover, Justice League of America number 7, part 4 of 6. This one written by Jeff Lemire again. And then it connects to Justice League Dark, just like that. Part 5 of 6. And then finally, part 6 of 6 connects next to that one. Really cool artwork. I like these 3 comic panels. They're pretty cool. All right, and then finally for the legends that I have on this page, it's a 2-card connecting image. There is only 1 comic book though, and that is DC Universe Rebirth. It's a wraparound cover. This is the front. I'll go ahead and open it up so I can show off the back. This has artwork by Gary Frank. Really cool cover and a cool story too. So this is a one-shot which kind of corrects or goes back and retcons a few things in the timeline that DC wanted to adjust. So here's the front image. And here's the back. I highly recommend picking this up and reading it. It's pretty neat. There is a surprising character in it that acts as kind of a deus ex machina, the kind of invisible force behind a lot of the multiverse changes. And in some ways, it might be a little bit cheap, but in some ways it's also quite clever. I thought it was pretty interesting. And this character is very much, at least to me, seems very much like a representation of just straight up the writers in DC editorial, since they are the hand that guides all of this. And they kind of wrote it in as a specific character. I don't want to name the character because it's worth finding out, I think, on your own, if you read the storyline, or if you don't want to read it and like to know, go ahead and look it up. It's a pretty cool idea. All right, so those are the two legendaries. Finally, we have the mythic, and here's my PSA 10 of the mythic of Crisis on Infinite Earths #1. And for this one, I did go ahead and splurge and picked up a 9.8 CGC White Pages graded copy of this comic. I have a collected edition of it. I did not own a copy of this comic, and it's one that I've wanted for a while. Raw copies go for, I don't know, $20 or $30. And when I was looking at picking one up, instead of spending $20, $30 on a raw copy, went ahead and found this 9.8 for $96. Figured it'd be worth it. I love the cover, and it goes along with my PSA 10. That'd be pretty cool to put on display. It's of course got beautiful artwork by George Perez, and this is actually a wraparound cover itself. The artwork on the back is really cool. Here's George Perez's signature. So it's interesting to me that we got all of these connecting covers and a wraparound comic legendary. Here's a wraparound cover mythic, but just the front. We don't have the back of Infinite Crisis #1. And it's a little odd to me to have this beautiful George Perez artwork, the front of it, without the back. So it does make me wonder if there could be a future digital reward for set completion that would be the back cover of Infinite Crisis #1. If anyone from Hro is out there listening, I would absolutely love that as a reward card so that we could finish this wraparound cover to go along with the DC Universe Rebirth #1. Crisis on Infinite Earths is, of course, the quintessential DC limited series and crossover event where they collapsed the multiverse into kind of one singular DC universe, which has since exploded back into the multiverse, you know, in a few different ways. It's a classic storyline. There are a lot of key character deaths in the storyline. I won't call them out. You might know them already. But they, of course, have come back in various incarnations over time. And I'm not up to speed what has happened in Dark Crisis. I think that's the most recent Crisis event that has happened. And the Dawn of DC like relaunch issues, I think, are hitting soon, anytime now. It's not a full-on reboot. The only reboots so far in the DC universe have been Crisis on Infinite Earths and then the New 52. We're still basically in the New 52 universe, although it's been adjusted and merged with other multiverses and retconned and tweaked and whatnot. It's still essentially the New 52 universe. All right, that's everything for this video. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at all of the covers to these beautiful comics that were the sources for this Hro DC Events set. Let me know down in the comments if you have any of these, and if you've read any of them, which one is your favorite? Maybe Infinite Crisis or Crisis on Infinite Earths or Death Knight's Metal. If you've enjoyed this type of content and would like to see more Hro or comic book or collectible related content, I encourage you to consider liking and subscribing. That would help out my channel. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.